My name is Jay Sugarman, and I want to welcome you to Museum Open House. This ongoing series features and highlights many of the outstanding museums and other cultural institutions. The main purpose of most programs is to inform viewers about current and upcoming exhibits, various programs, resources, and other opportunities that are available for the general public. Today via Zoom, we're fortunate to have as our guest Dr. Amanda Gilvin, Dr. Semente, Shaela Sageth, Maimouna Toure, and Taylor Quaye, all of whom are associated with Wellesley College. Amanda is the Sonja Novak Koerner Senior Curator of Collections and Assistant Director of Curatorial Affairs. Semente is the Curator of Education and Public Programs, and Shaela, Maimouna, and Taylor are all students in the college. Everyone's here today to inform us about the fascinating exhibition entitled Lorraine O'Grady, Both and, which is currently on display on campus at the Davis Museum until June 2nd. As we'll soon hear, Lorraine O'Grady is a distinguished graduate of Wellesley College who's had a remarkable career in several fields, most notably the art world. During the program, we'll find out why and how the exhibition came about. We'll go on a behind-the-scenes tour and in the process come to better understand and appreciate Lorraine O'Grady's groundbreaking work as a conceptual artist and cultural critic whose efforts have challenged prevailing understandings around gender, race, and class for over 4 decades. Let's start by meeting our guest and then learning all about Lorraine O'Grady and the Both And exhibition. Welcome, so delighted you're all able to be here. You know, not being familiar with Lorraine O'Grady beforehand, it was an incredible opportunity to visit the exhibition a couple of weeks ago. What a remarkable person. I learned a lot. I'm eager to find out more and have you inform viewers. But before we jump right to that, I also think it would be of interest if each of you would briefly share a little bit more about your background, professional, academic interests, position, if it applies. Amanda, would you please start?
Absolutely. And thanks, Jay, so much for inviting us today. We're very excited to share about this exhibition, which is a real honor for us to bring to Lorraine's alma mater, Wellesley College, and the Davis, where she first showed her work, Miscegenated Family Album, in 1994, actually. So she has been a generous alum and shared a lot with the college over the years. So it's an honor to get to work with her now. As you said, I'm Dr. Amanda Gilvin, the Koerner Assistant Director and Senior Curator here at the Davis. I specialize in the arts of Africa and African diaspora. And here at the Davis, I work with my colleagues at the Davis and across the Wellesley campus, students, faculty, and staff to steward around 16,000 artworks from around the world in all different time periods and organize special exhibitions like this one.
Terrific, terrific. Semente, welcome. A little bit about yourself, please.
Thank you. Great to be here. I am Semente, the Curator of Education and Public Programs. I am new to the Davis. Before here, I was a postdoc fellow at the Yale University Art Gallery, where I also worked in the education department. Previously to that, I was finishing my master's and my Ph.D. in African Diaspora Studies at the University of Texas at Austin. And before that, I went to Brandeis. So I graduated in 2015 from Brandeis University with a double major in International Global Studies, African American Studies, with minors in Latin American Latino Studies and Women and Gender Sexuality Studies. So I was pretty close to Wellesley at the time, and I'm originally from Brazil. I'm originally from São Paulo, grew up in the East Coast, and very happy to be here.
Oh, wonderful. So glad you're joining us. Maimouna, would you share a little bit about yourself, please?
Of course, yes. Hi, my name is Maimouna, obviously. Wellesley. I'm a first year and I'm a tour guide at the Davis Museum. I'm really interested in philosophy and political science as majors, but I'm also trying to see how I can fit art into my education because that's something that's really close to my heart. I think that Wellesley is definitely one of the places to be when it comes to art because we have a lot of different like non-traditional ways of expressing our different types of like the different experiences that people have. There's a lot of different people that come to Wellesley. So I feel like it's really a space where people can express themselves in a way that is like unique to themselves.
Nice, nice. And I've always been impressed with how the Davis is so welcoming and encouraging for students and faculty to take advantage of all the resources it has as well. Shaela, welcome. A few words about yourself, please.
Hi, yes, thank you. I'm Shaela. My pronouns are they, them. I'm a second year at Wellesley, and I'm really interested in cinema media studies. I should be, that's my major. I work at the Davis on the advisory council, and I'm also a curatorial research assistant. So I'm pretty much involved in the art spaces on campus a lot. And they're really my favorite community. Like the art community is my favorite community, I would say. We get to explore our identity in very different ways, like Maimouna was saying. It's very much like engagement heavy and building community together, which I think is really great.
Terrific, terrific. Yeah, I'm eager to hear about your association, all of you, with the museum a little later. Taylor, welcome. A little bit about yourself.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Taylor. She, they pronouns. I'm a senior here. I'm a philosophy major and studio art minor. So I've worked really closely with trying to find the intersection between those two disciplines throughout my career. And I'm also in Professor Nikki Green's Lorraine O'Grady seminar, which has been absolutely wonderful to be a part of. And very similarly, everybody in the course, we've worked really hands-on behind the scenes, working directly with the performers, having the wonderful, amazing opportunity to work with Davis staff and to meet Lorraine O'Grady herself. So it's honestly just been a really amazing experience, and for me as well, to try to always, think philosophically about the work, which I think really serves when you're doing visual analysis. So it's been so great to interact and engage with the exhibits, the art, and everybody a part of the process.
Yeah, the seminar, which again, hope to hear more later, is just one example of so many initiatives that have gone beyond and enhanced and taken advantage of the exhibition. Really fabulous. And LJ, so glad you're able to join us. Welcome. A few words about yourself, please.
Yes, of course. Thank you for having me. I'm in Arkansas right now, so there's a time change. I'm so sorry for hopping on late, but I'm LJ. I'm a sophomore. I am majoring in American Studies, and I'm also studying cinema and media studies, so figuring out if that will be a major or a minor. But I feel like that has really allowed me to be more in depth with my interaction with the modes of Lorraine O'Grady's work. I also enjoy photography, and seeing the way that she has collaged photography and uses photo montage has been very intriguing because it's very inspiring to see the way that different modes are used in specific artworks, especially if you're not familiar with them. I have been involved with the Davis since my first year. At first, I was involved with security as a student visitor assistant, and this year I'm a student guide. And over the summer, I will be a curatorial intern, and I'm very excited about that. So yes, I've been interacting with the Davis a lot, it's a very rich resource because having a museum on campus, and I tell my friends at home that we have a museum on campus, and they're so shocked because that is such a privilege to have, especially when you are very passionate about art.
You said intriguing, and I couldn't think of a better word to capture Lorraine's photographs in one word. And we're going to be seeing some of them shortly. But as we transition, Amanda, I think it would be of interest to hear a little bit about Lorraine herself, maybe some background information, her other interests, which I found incredibly fascinating, the many incredible career path she's taken and how successful she was from one to the other before she found her place in the art world a little later in her career. Would you share a little bit about her, please?
Yes, of course, Jay. And you know, to talk about O'Grady's biography here at Wellesley, it is, of course, points immediately to many of the reasons it's special to have the exhibition here at the Davis and here at Wellesley. Her work is so interdisciplinary and brilliant that it's well suited to any academic museum. But it's particularly significant for us because it's a homecoming. O'Grady is from Boston. Both of her parents immigrated from Jamaica here to Boston, and she grew up in Back Bay and Roxbury, attended Girls Latin school, where she was a star student and excelled, and was accepted into Wellesley next. She was the first student to receive a full aid package at Wellesley, both combining both merit and need-based financial aid. At the time, she was, of course, one of very few Black students at both Girls Latin and at Wellesley, and faced challenges because of racism and classism, and nonetheless excelled. Her mother really wanted her to become the first Black congresswoman, and major in history. But O'Grady brought these amazing skills she has developed at Girls Latin in languages, Latin specifically, but of course the related Romance languages, and chose to major in Spanish instead. And was even president of the Spanish-speaking corridor her sophomore year. And continued really excelling as a student here at Wellesley, where she entered in 1951 as part of the class of 1955. And remained a star student throughout. She did take a 1.5 year leave after becoming pregnant. She married her son's father and spent time really beginning that family life together and becoming a parent. And with the support of key Wellesley faculty, she and the support of her mother and sister as well, her mother and sister were all determined that she would finish college, which was not easy at the time. There was not the kind of support that there are for parents in college now, which remain often inadequate. So she returned and actually finished in 1956, and was the first Wellesley student to pass the incredibly rigorous management intern exam, which was a way to gain employment with the federal government at the time. It involved both oral and written exams. 2,000 people took it, and only 200 people passed and received job offers. Of those in 1956, only 6 were women. And only the Bureau of Labor Statistics hired women out of the program at the time. So that's where she began her career, having switched from Spanish to economics as her major, seeing that as a practical move as she needed to support her young son. And she remained employed by the federal government for a number of years. She spent time working for the State Department as well, and then decided to bring her skills as a writer to focusing on her career in writing, and began a novel. And here we get to parts of the story that you're pointing to, Jay, that just how she's excelled at each of these career moves. So she submitted part of her draft of a novel to the Iowa Writers Workshop, which was then as now one of the best, it really usually regarded as the best in the nation, where she would complete her master's, translate one of her professor's novels from Spanish into English, and realized she did not want to become a novelist. So she next moved to Chicago, where she first worked for, and then took over a translation business with major clients that included Encyclopedia Britannica, corporate clients. But such a rigorous thinker, she found translation get truly boring and not a place for her to express herself. She next moved to New York and became a rock critic. And her first reviews were published in the Village Voice and the Rolling Stone. She was one of the first writers to recognize an up-and-coming rock star that she told the world to look out for, Bruce Springsteen. Quite prescient. And it was here in New York that she began teaching surrealist literature at the School for Visual Arts, and wanting to learn more about her students' perspectives. So this is also really important for me as we teach her work here at Wellesley, to see how in many ways the roots of this shift and how she came to conceptual art were in teaching students, but also learning from them, just as we do here at the Davis and at Wellesley. So it was during this time as she's teaching French surrealist literature that she wants to know about her students' fascinating perspectives on this art that they're making, which is about ideas, it's conceptual art, and in addition to being about making. So that's when she reads Lucy Lippard's 6 Years, the Dematerialization of the art object, which really revolutionizes her thinkings and lays the groundwork for her own career as a conceptual artist, performance artist, and cultural critic.
Terrific, terrific. Very helpful indeed. Before we jump right in and enjoy some images from the exhibition, Semente, would you please share a little bit about why and how the exhibition came about?
Sure. The exhibition, Lorraine O'Grady, both and actually began at the Brooklyn Museum. It was curated by Catherine Morris and Aruna de Souza. And this specific rendition that we have here at Wellesley is a little bit different than what was at the Brooklyn Museum. One difference is that it incorporates a case that is Wellesley specific, which has archival materials from Lorraine O'Grady's time at Wellesley College. There's a yearbook photo, there's her Spanish paper that she got an A- on, her yellow beanie from class of 55, that is the original beanie she kept all these years, a little booklet from Tree Day in 1952 where she performed with her classmates. So we see both her own kind of beginnings as a scholar, as a thinker, as even a performer, but also just her time as a Wellesley student, which I think is really important for current Wellesley students to be able to see. It also incorporates her retrospective. So it involves works like what we're seeing now from Rivers for Strat from 1982, which was a one-time only performance that now we have as photographs. It was done in vignettes. All these vignettes were happening at the same time in the Lock in Central Park. So we have these examples of both her performance, her visual art. Here we have her curation, the black and white show, which also happened in the 80s. And then her career kind of spans to really speaking up for the Black community. And you see that in Mademoiselle Bourgeois Noir, you see that in Art Is, which is depicted here, this avant-garde performance that happened at the Afro-American Day Parade in Harlem, where you know, she's using these gold frames to signify what is art. Art is, and all of these photographs depict a different, title that starts with art is, and that allowed the community to really jump in collectively and say, I am art too, I am art too. It's also a way to show this space of Harlem, the people here are a part of this avant-garde movement that should and always has included Black people, and Black people have always been central to this development of avant-garde performance-based art. So her work really, it continues to be both joy, as you see here in Mademoiselle Bourgeois Noir, where she is a beauty queen that is kind of dressed up in 180 gloves that she sewed herself. She has a bouquet of flowers and she's asking people, please, will you help me lighten my load? But she also whips herself with this whip that she calls a whip that made plantations move, as she shouts poetry and calls out the segregation and the racism of the art market. So going back to the title, both and, her work is often diptych. It's often two things making up one. So she's kind of contradicting contradicting the either-orism of Western mentality, that things have to be either this or that, but she employs hybridity, the idea that it can be both and she really sees this as a way to deconstruct and work against white supremacist thought. She sees works like this, her cutting out the New York Times, these hybrid diptychs where she's kind of getting us to the point of the surrealist project that she had started in 1977 and revisits in 2017. So her work really continues to be iterative. She comes back to her own process. Here we have Body as the Ground of My Experience, which is truly a processing of the experiences housed in the body, right? So we see a landscape video called Landscape Western Hemisphere that is her hair. We see these diptych photo montages that incorporate her own family histories, and also these historical narratives and contradictory stories between interracial relationships, or the possibilities of both ecstasy and also violence that happen simultaneously in a lot of these histories. So she's thinking about many really, really important concepts through these works. Here we have Miscegenated Family Album. This is made up of 16 diptychs that were originally a performance that you see in the case there for her sister, Devonia Evangeline O'Grady. When she passed, she did a ritual for her in the style of the Book of the Dead and created these diptychs that were seen behind her in the performance that are now part of this exhibition, kind of bringing to light her own mixed race histories and the ways that she is seeing similarities in these Egyptian figures, but also kind of seeing the ceremonial occasions, the idea of a woman being a beautiful host, the family, and really honoring her sister and the legacies that her sisters was encouraged to take on, but also making almost amends and healing her own relationship with these expectations that were placed on her that she didn't always want to take on herself. So it's really this beautiful, very relatable exhibition space of the ancient and the present. Here we have Announcement of a New Persona. For this one, performances are still to come. This is Lorraine O'Grady's most recent work. It's from 2020. She is actually in this night suit. She has told me personally she can run in it, she can dance in it, she can do everything in it. It is a very, again, a hybrid example of this European histories, the idea of Joan of Arc, the conquistadores, with the palm tree and her Caribbean heritage. She's being playful, but she's also asking herself, when all markers of identity are stripped away, what is left? And that is kind of the question she's exploring with this particular set of works.
Fabulous, fabulous. Well, thank you for the wonderful tour. We might have an opportunity a little later to look at some of the works in more detail, but I want to make sure we have time to hear from the students, to hear what they've been learning about Lorraine O'Grady and maybe their experience either at the museum, in the seminar. So Maimouna, would you start by sharing some reflections?
I think that recently I've been taking a lot of time in the actual exhibit and going through the art and seeing how the different experiences that she's had in her life has been like portrayed into her art. It makes me think about her time at Wellesley and all the different students that like she was also encouraging into creating art in their different forms, and all the other people that she has influenced while she was here. Especially, I think about the other people that have come to this school during the time that she was here and even the times before that. And in general, it's just it's a calming experience to talk with someone who has already been here and been in my shoes and has had similar experiences to me, and talk about how they were able to express themselves in a way that they felt like was truly like themselves and just came naturally to them despite the things that they have went through. So that's really where I'm at right now.
Terrific, terrific. Shaela, a few words, please, about what you've experienced so far.
Yeah, even just going through this tour, I'm really reminded of how I resonated with Lorraine's story because I also come from like very different academic backgrounds. Like I didn't come into Wellesley knowing I was going to be interested in art. I was really looking for like a safe space for queer people, and I definitely found that, but I've also found a space for reflection, and I see that a lot in Lorraine's work. I think just starting out with like cutting out the New York Times, we see this like surreal practice where it's like just cutting out papers and then moving it around and seeing what speaks to me. And I remember when I first started getting into art, that's exactly how I practice it. And I was kind of waiting for the universe to speak to me and to be able to like investigate what it's kind of like tarot cards, honestly, being able to like investigate my reality through art and then also create like more concrete concepts over time.
Nice, nice. Taylor, would enjoy hearing some of your thoughts.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's really, interesting to be at this point where I'm finishing my academic career here and to reflect on my experience being an artist and, being a part of our artistic practice on campus. It's been so wonderful that this has kind of created a space for Black art to be and exist at Wellesley College, which has, felt as a kind of gap for a little bit. We have done a really wonderful job of building community here and led by Professor Green, who is always, preaching rest is resistance. And I think that this exhibition embodies that for me, to have all these Black artists come together and celebrate not just Lorraine O'Grady, but themselves, and to see Lorraine O'Grady celebrating these artists as well. I remember during Ayana's performance, seeing her, being celebrated in the middle, but then as well, just in awe, I could see on her face of all the wonderful people that were in this space appreciating art. So it's been really wonderful to kind of see this manifestation of community and the importance of an artistic community here, and then also celebrating Black art, which is really wonderful to see.
Wonderful, wonderful. LJ, some of your thoughts, please.
Yes, it's in a similar vein. It's just been very exciting to see students and even artists interact with not Professor Green's, Lorraine O'Grady's work. And in the sense that in our seminar, we have been able to be in the galleries and cultivate projects off of these galleries, give gallery walks, talks. And we had a group that essentially recreated the performance of River's first draft. And so there's been a very hands-on experience in the learning about Miss O'Grady's work. And we can even see that in the performances of the people that have come to campus to perform in honor of her exhibit. They have incorporated pieces of her artwork into their performance. And so when MR was performing, he incorporated like a piece of the cutting out the New York Times, or cutting out the New York Times. And so that's why I joined the seminar in the first place, because I knew that this would be an experience that would be very immersed in the gallery. And it's been so much fun to actually like sit in the gallery and talk about the art. And of course, we're like using different sources, but in our last class, we were sitting and we were talking about Audre Lorde and the erotic. And then we could move to an exhibit and talk about how we could apply what we just read to a piece of Lorraine O'Grady's work. So it's been very, very fun to be hands-on with this exhibit.
Yeah, no, a rich opportunity for all of us to take advantage of. As we continue, we're fortunate to have some close-ups of some of the presentations that Semente mentioned. Amanda and/or Semente, a few more words with these nice close-ups of the different exhibitions as we continue our discussion. Amanda?
This is a detail of the installation version of the documentary photographs of O'Grady's performance as Mademoiselle Bourgeois-Noire in 1983 at the New Museum. And Mademoiselle Bourgeois-Noire was a persona that O'Grady invented really to announce herself as a performance artist. It came about when she first approached the Just Above Midtown Gallery in 1979, 1980, which was, of course, a now legendary gallery that was featured in an exhibition at MoMA last year or the year before. I'd have to double check, but there's an excellent catalog I recommend everybody check out to learn more about Just Above Midtown. And O'Grady has a beautiful essay about her time there as well. Owned by Linda Good Bryant. That represented and showed primarily Black conceptual artists. So O'Grady was, after discovering conceptual art, was so excited to discover this Black-owned gallery that featured Black conceptual artists, and offered her services as kind of a volunteer PR consultant, because she is a rock critic, a writer, learning about conceptual art. She was ready to help advertise the good work of this gallery. But as she called around the Village Voice, other publications, to get the upcoming exhibition Outlaw Aesthetics listed, they turned her down. We know that she's used to excelling. And she realized that the art world, of all of these spheres that she'd navigated in before, the art world was the most racist she had encountered yet. And it really politicized her in a new way to resist the certainly anti-Black racism, but also the colonial heritage that she recognized that she had inherited, but also that still shaped all of these worlds in which she was navigating. So as she commuted home from the School for Visual Arts one day, walking across Union Square, she had this vision of herself covered in white gloves. And of course, white gloves for her had a different meaning in 1980 than they do for us now. Our students, Semente and I, we see them in pictures. I, in the early 80s, as a very small girl, wore them occasionally. But in the 50s, when O'Grady was still here at Wellesley, to be dressed up required wearing white gloves. She'd worn them herself to leisure events that were fancy, but also to job interviews. These were markers of class and of a certain kind of gendered performance of not just womanhood, of ladiness. And so she collected all of these gloves from vintage stores around Manhattan. She only wanted gloves that women had believed in, because she saw them as symbols of internalized oppression. The whip that she covered in chrysanthemums that Semente mentioned earlier was a symbol of externalized oppression, of the violence that maintained a racist colonial order. So this first performance she did among friends at Just Above Midtown Gallery at the opening of Outlaw Aesthetics, the show that she'd been trying to advertise. But these images are from a performance she did a few years later at the New Museum. And she'd been invited to participate in the educational programming of an exhibition on conceptual art that only featured white artists. So, when the 1980 performance was really about asking her new Black colleagues to be more adventurous with their art, to resist their own bourgeois heritage. But this 83 performance was remonstrating to a white art world to recognize the provinciality and historic violence behind their ongoing segregation. And here we see the both and, the diptych form in this exhibition that Semente also mentioned earlier about it. There's anger in this performance. It's drawing on the work of French Caribbean poet Léon Dumas. It's incredibly serious. but it was also hilarious and fun. As vulnerable and careful as it was, she was also out with her friends, and just what a celebration it must have been afterwards to have gotten away with it and made her point, which is what we see here.
Oh, wow. Thank you for that additional background information. One more we'd like to hear a little more detailed. Semente, you mentioned the art is, and we see this nice close-up here. Perhaps a few more words about this presentation.
Absolutely. This one is art is girl pointing, but beyond the girl pointing, we see a number of other members of the community within the frame as well and are surrounding the frame. And I think that what really sticks out to me about this particular project is the community and collective work and joy that was required for it to be successful. It required participation that wasn't necessarily planned. It wasn't planned. It was planned by her and her friends that she paid to be a part of it. But the larger community that participated out of choice, out of desire to be included in what is considered art. I think it's also really incredible when you see all the photographs, knowing that they were actually taken by people that day. So there was not one photographer, it was taken by folks who were there, and Lorraine would pass them a card and ask, "What can I please get this film reel from you?" There were no iPhones or Androids at the time, so it's not like everybody had a camera on their phone. So she would need to collect these reels and from everyone who the film reels from everyone who took photos that day. And then those are the photographs we see in this exhibition. So not only is it a collective project of participation, it's also a collective project of documentation. Those who were there that day became the artists who are also documenting the art, and the art is also the people who were there. So it's these incredible like layers of both. And I think it's really beautiful for her to also be interrogating her own class background, her own privileged background, her bourgeois upbringing, and seeing herself as a part of the Black community. She often says that she was post-Black before she was Black. A lot of that comes from some of her privileges and her the way she was raised, like Amanda was mentioning with the White Glove Society, with these ideas of class superiority, and her desire to be actually a part of the Black community and to make sure that if she is getting shine and she's getting privileges, others are as well, and to interrogate what is it that makes it so that some people are seen in galleries, some people's work are seen as part of this avant-garde, and some people are not. So I appreciate the political aspects of this work as well, that she is in it, she actually wears her own white gloves. So it's not depicted in this photo, but there is a photo where she pins her own Wellesley gloves. And so she was there that day as Mademoiselle Bourgeois Noir. She also saw herself showing up to Art Is as part of that character of Mademoiselle Bourgeois Noir, and she put her own Wellesley gloves on her shirt because those were gloves that she had once believed in as well. So it is a way for her to think about her own background, her own upbringing, the things that the internalized oppression that she once believed in, and how to kind of externally liberate herself and others collectively. I think that's an incredible project, and I think it's really beautiful that she utilizes her own theoretical background of both and of seeing things as hybrid, this idea of a miscegenated way of thinking. How can we think collectively and value multiple perspectives? Because that is actually core to Black feminist theory and is really important, to value multiple perspectives, multiple experiences on an even plane. And for me, this exhibition and this particular series really embodies that.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you for that overview. I know the array of photos that go with this really give you a sense of almost being there from the multiple shots that you're able to enjoy. Now, we have a couple more close-ups, maybe just an abbreviated explanation, Amanda, about this Rivers first draft as we try to fit in a few other things.
Sure. So River's first draft is a coming of age story about how she became an artist in middle age. And this image is of the moment of reckoning of her spraying this symbolic stove red, her color of her adult art itself, and really self-actualizing.
Nice. And Semente, a few words about this presentation that you highlighted earlier.
Yeah, so this is part of Miscegenated Family album. This one is called Sisters One. On the left, we have Nefertiti, and on the right, we have Devonia Evangeline O'Grady, Lorraine O'Grady's older sister, who's 11 years older than her. So we see this continuous kind of placement, comparison or juxtaposition between the ancient and this royal queen from the past, from Egypt, and then this image of her sister. So it is, and they're positioned in a way where they're looking kind of at each other in a similar direction. She definitely makes this intentional with all the photographs in the series, that they are engaging with one another in a very particular way, but the series as a whole also engages with each other. So it's this really interesting look at women's experiences or family experiences across time. Yeah.
Semente, can you continue? And the last close-up we'd like to hear about is one of her more recent endeavors. Find fascinating that she's still exploring in so many different ways at this time in her career. Few
I
words.
I agree. I'm very fascinated by that as well. That in 2020, this is what Lorraine O'Grady was doing. She was in a night suit getting it custom made. I had the privilege of asking her a lot of questions about this over dinner. So I got a lot of curiosities out. The night suit was actually made by the night conservator at the Met. So he's a jouster. He keeps up his own suit and the suits of others. It was a lot of work because Lorraine O'Grady wanted a lot of customization for this. So when you see the chest piece, the chest piece that is pointed forward, that is specifically to look like the night suit of the conquistadores, who were the colonizers who landed in the Caribbean. So that's a direct tie. We also have the top of this night suit is intended to look like an architectural structure, while the face component is also intended to look like the torture devices that were used against African people during slavery. At the very top, we have this headdress of a palm tree to also reference her Caribbean upbringing, the idea of carnival. The little horse is actually the type of toy she would have wanted to play with had someone asked her as a child, "What do you want to play with?" So as a female-born child, I understand the push to give dolls and dolls and dolls to children. But Lorraine O'Grady says, actually, if you had asked me what kind of toy I wanted to play with, it would have been a wooden horse. And then we see this kind of companion or support figure here, who is her studio assistant, Sir, but he is dressed up in this costume to evoke the memory of Sancho from Don Quixote. So she's also bringing in these literary comparisons, and that outfit is actually made up of a bunch of ties, and he is placed in a few different character costumes throughout this photo series. So this is just one of a few different costumes that he's in to support her.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you.
And Jay, I want to add that her work featuring this character, the Knight, will also be on view at the Marian Ibrahim Gallery in Chicago, opening on April 10th and closing on May 25th.
It's again just remarkable. Her career stays so robust to this day. The students, as well as both of you, were just mentioning the multiple ways this exhibition has extended into the college. And I know, Amanda, one thing you've added is this very detailed and complimentary ebook. Would you share a little bit about what's involved with this? And there's a lot.
Yes, this is a project that I co-edited with O'Grady. It was actually something that she proposed. And we really viewed it as a course packet. The idea was a scholarly, participatory reference for teaching the exhibition here at Wellesley, but that would also stand on its own as a reference for O'Grady's work for many years to come. So I wrote an introduction for it. The first section features previously published writings of O'Grady, and we're really thrilled to publish this here at the Davis as well, because she has remained equally a writer in addition to a conceptual artist. We printed a beautiful analysis of her work that had previously been published. And then there's a section of 19 reflections from members of the Wellesley community, students, staff, faculty, and alums, most of them focus on a single artwork, and others look at several and consider the role of O'Grady's work here at Wellesley, including I want to emphasize part of what was so brilliant about Morris's and D'Souza's conceptualization of the show was the inclusion of so many archival materials. And all of those archival materials were borrowed here from Wellesley. O'Grady donated her papers in 2010, and head archivist Sarah Ludovisi is just as the Davis teaches interdisciplinarily with art, she teaches interdisciplinarily with the archives, and has brought O'Grady's legacy to classes across campus for years now. And one of the reflections in the book is from Ludovisi and about the importance of these archives in addition to the exhibition.
No, I found it very helpful and informative to try to get up to speed a little bit about Lorraine O'Grady and the exhibition. Another terrific resource is the accompanying book that's available. Just a very brief word, maybe, Semente, about this opportunity.
It's a phenomenal catalog. I really recommend, if you can get your hands on it, please do, especially after June 2nd when the exhibition will no longer be up. Definitely come check it out while you can, but this is something that allows it to live on and to continue being engaged with. It brings a lot of depth to the different works, and just background information, more of the symbolism. It's a really, really beautiful work, really a beautiful catalog.
You can find both catalogs on the Davis website. The ebook is available for free. So you can click through the website, and then the catalog is for sale in the Davis Museum shop on our website and in the Davis lobby.
Now, Amanda and Semente and any students who might want to add an example of the extended related programming that's either happened or will be happening. Perhaps go to the students if anything has stood out for you so far, or something you might be looking forward to. Maimouna?
For me, I'm really looking forward to see all of the art that Wellesley is going to be bringing in. I think that for me, I just like to see the different ways that people create art. So I'm ready to see everything in every form that it could possibly be in.
Terrific, terrific. Shaela, how about yourself?
Yeah, for me, since I'm a cinema and media studies major, I'm often thinking about like the technologies used to create art. And I think I'm very excited about how intersectional and interdisciplinary the work of Lorraine O'Grady is and how it can be applied to different classes. I think like I have friends in women's and gender studies and like Africana studies in economics and like all over very different like disciplines studying Lorraine's work. And I think it's really necessary for especially students of color on campus to be able to see their own histories and like be able to strive for like explaining their own histories through Lorraine. And I think we've also been introduced to like a lot of I guess like familiar stories. I think we had a performer, Dominique, who very much went into like the experience of like being a person of color, especially a Black person, and having those issues with like body and like desirability. We've also had like M. Lamar, who spoke about, which was my favorite, who spoke about like very much like the advancing of technology and like mourning and I guess the neglect of like Black bodies and that experience with like AI and like post-gender, post-human like interactions with technology. And I think just like there's some for everyone and there's like a place for everybody in the art world as well as like in exploring art. And I think Lorraine's work has definitely opened the door in exploring that.
Yeah, I think it speaks to her multifaceted background that we heard about earlier, just continues to grow herself and the appeal it has for so many individuals and disciplines across the area. Taylor, some thoughts about your experience so far?
Yeah, I think one of the previous programming events that we had that I really loved was the opportunity to actually speak directly with Lorraine O'Grady. You know, there was a lot of programming. She was very busy. So for us students, it was just already wonderful to be in her presence and to kind of see her interact with everything that was going on, but to be able to actually ask her questions, hear her own personal thoughts about, you know, how she's even viewed in the public eye in the media was really, really interesting and very insightful. And I think what I'm looking forward to in our seminar course, we're all working on individual projects related to Lorraine O'Grady, and there isn't one kind of format. It's very, you know, Professor Green emphasizes decolonizing the syllabus, decolonizing academic spaces, and that includes doing research in quote unquote unconventional ways and making space for even an artistic practice to be a research project. And so I'm really looking forward to being able to think critically about Lorraine O'Grady's work through an artistic medium and experiment and explore and investigate with that.
Sounds terrific. What an incredible opportunity to have her come back on campus and be available for students and faculty as well as others. LJ, some of your impressions so far?
Right. I would say that just like the programming for the like Wellesley community has been very lovely. Shout out to Semente, our program coordinator, and the decorating of white gloves. We had a program at the like very, I believe it was a week before the opening of the exhibit or the reopening of the museum. And at the Davis, students could just come and decorate white gloves. And I saw so many students I had never seen in the museum that were attracted by this activity that was directly related to the exhibit. And so just throughout the symposium and just trying to get people to be involved with the performers that are visiting, it was very nice to see that at the beginning of all of this, there was already this engagement with students who might not necessarily be involved with the arts, but are attracted to just the idea of being involved with the Davis. And so that was very lovely to see. And looking forward, I'm just excited for the final two performances in the series that Professor Green has curated, and just to see that close out and this lovely interaction with the exhibit before June.
Terrific, terrific. In the few minutes we have left, Amanda and Semente, maybe just looking back, some of your reflections of what's taken place or what you're looking forward to. Amanda?
Yes, I want to echo the students in really valuing the time that we've all gotten to have with O'Grady here on campus for the opening events, for her participation in this series that we're excited to be partnering with the art department on, the Taking the White Gloves Off performance art series in honor of Lorraine O'Grady, class of 55, that Professor Nikki Green is curating. That is still ongoing. You can look at our website for more information. But for the opening events, we also had a symposium, and your viewers can go to the Davis YouTube page and see those talks, including a panel chaired by Semente, featuring some of our faculty members who are teaching across the disciplines, and one of the curators of the exhibition, Catherine Morris, as well. And looking forward, we are excited to continue welcoming many different class visits, as Shaela was mentioning, from all different departments, but also we're receiving a lot of public and alum groups as well, for tours and for self-guided visits. So we are definitely still looking forward.
I know lots more. I know I had the opportunity to enjoy and learn from the symposium. Semente, well done coordinating that. And a terrific example, as you mentioned, Amanda, of the multidimensional aspect of Lorraine, her work, and the appeal, as the students said as well, to so many individuals and areas of study. Semente, I'd want to give you a minute or so for any reflections so far that you've had.
Absolutely. I definitely echo what everyone has said. Thank you for the shout outs. These have been great programs. Decorating White Gloves, we had 83 students come throughout the time. They showed up to the opening with these gorgeous gloves. Decorating the gloves was a way to kind of reclaim in a modern way this reclamation of these internalized oppressions and make it glittery, make it sparkle. So a new generation's reclamation. I'm also really fascinated by certain collaborations I've been able to do, such as with Professor Rhonda Gray, who teaches yoga for stress relief here at the college, and she is on the panel as well. She and I collaborated on making oracle decks, so we toured the both an exhibition, and then we created, just like Shaela was saying, these oracle cards that students can kind of allow messages to come to them. It can be a space of healing and recuperation that really echoes Lorraine O'Grady's work. And looking forward, we are still excited about some things coming up. We have Family Day that is open for all people of all ages. It's going to be on April 20th, so that's going to be a big event from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. We'll have activities such as collaging, coloring pages, make your own night mask, and a little bit more white glove decorating. So that is a family-friendly event for all ages. And we are still looking forward to 2 more performances, like was mentioned, by Eleanor Kipping, and that one is going to be May 25th. That's going to be reunion weekend. And in the fall, we'll welcome Sade McConan, whose performance was rescheduled from the spring. So it's really, a lot has happened and a lot has been wonderful. And we also invite folks to take advantage of the last few things that we have in coordination with this exhibition, because it's still going to be phenomenal.
Most definitely. Well, unfortunately, we've come to the end of the program. I want to thank all of you so much for being here, for adding so much. I know listening to you, I've learned a lot more, and I'm eager to go back since it's still available until June 2nd, and want to encourage viewers and others to definitely make their way and become familiar with Lorraine O'Grady and her incredible presentations and work in general. So thanks again, continued success with all of your endeavors, and look forward to perhaps seeing you at the Davis sometime soon.
Thank you, Jay.
Thanks so much, Jay.
Our pleasure. Also want to thank those of you watching for joining us, and hope you'll be able to tune in next time.